What's happening, guys? Welcome back to DC Central, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down and reviewing The Flash Season 6, Episode 18, otherwise entitled Pay the Piper, and this episode is also now serving as the penultimate episode of the season, so if you've not seen this episode, make sure you go and do so before proceeding with this review, as it will be filled with spoilers. So as I just mentioned, and I'll quickly mention it again here up the top, this is now the penultimate episode of the season. I'm sure you all know this, I'm sure this is something that you're all informed about now, but yes, the next episode, which is episode 19, Success is Assured, is now acting as the season finale, for The Flash Season 6. That will be the last episode of the season, so this is actually the penultimate episode of the season, so we actually have a lot of things going on. This episode could be considered kind of fillery, but I think this episode was still a lot of fun, and still had a lot of really good stuff within it. This episode caught me off guard immediately, because the opening scene of this episode takes place with Barry and Joe. I didn't expect Joe to be in this episode. I didn't expect Joe to be in the rest of this season. I didn't think we'd see him again until season 7, but here he is. He's in witness protection, and Barry goes to talk to him about Iris, and he basically just says to him, you know, oh, Iris is weird, this isn't our Iris, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Joe does actually confess to Barry. He's like, oh yeah, Wally did tell me something was up with her, and I just didn't say anything. I should have said something and stuff like that. So it was nice for them to actually have that scene. It was nice to have a Barry and Joe scene. And also it was nice for Joe to kind of actually tell Barry, you know, the fact that he did kind of know, in a way, that something was wrong. He didn't know exactly what, and of course he never would have expected this, but he knew there was kind of something up, and he didn't say anything. So I thought it was nice for them to actually kind of clear the air on that, and actually give Joe that sort of confession. What I really liked about this episode in particular is the conflict that was going on here, because this was kind of a hard episode to watch at times, and kind of depressing and sad, because everyone on Team Flash is just completely down at this point. Like, people have, you know, like, Barry and Cisco have both lost people. I mean, technically Cecile's lost Joe at this point. You know, he's had to go away. Just all these people have been through so much this season, and, you know, by this point, it's just, they're all kind of just lost. They're at a loss. They don't know what to do. And the conflict within them as well, because they're at such a low point in their lives right now, they're just arguing with each other constantly. Like, in this episode, Barry and Cisco are kind of at each other's throats at one point, which is obviously something that we haven't really seen since, like, season 3. So that was really interesting to actually see this conflict between everybody, where, you know, they're all trying to do the right thing, and they all are kind of right in their own points, but they are just not able to kind of work together because they're all kind of just so aggy. So it was really interesting to see that conflict, because again, it's not something we see very much on Team Flash, so it was nice to see that, and it kind of gives Cecile some good moments as well, because Cecile can often get shortchanged, I think, as a character, because obviously it's such a big cast, and it's hard to kind of give everyone moments to shine, particularly characters like Cecile, but she got some great moments here where she was able to really just calm everyone down, bring everyone together, particularly with Cisco. She had a great moment there with him when he was away working, so that was really cool. And I just think that this conflict, again, is something we don't see often, so it was nice to see it here, particularly in what is now a penultimate episode of the season. So the main story of this episode we see here is, obviously, we have Godspeed showing up. Now, Godspeed does return. We've not seen Godspeed since the season premiere, and he now shows up, and he is trying to basically gain the speed of Barry, and also just other Godspeeds out there. He goes to Iron Heights. He essentially kills all the other Godspeed clones who they had taken down before the season began. He took their speed, and he was also trying to take Barry's speed. Like, we got that awesome shot of Godspeed absorbing the speed from Barry with the lightning and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. But Allegra Now, in the Mirrorverse, we finally see Camilla. We actually see the actual Camilla who's been trapped in the Mirrorverse. Iris goes and finds her. These were interesting. Camilla is basically trying to study everything that was taken into the Mirrorverse with her. Like, we see Cicada's dagger there. She's basically trying to figure out what's going on, but she can't read the screens because of the mirror... I can't remember what the word is that Iris uses for it, but she uses some kind of terminology as to why she can't see it. But Iris is starting to be affected by it, so she can now see it. So they are essentially now finding a way to escape the Mirrorverse. I have to say, these scenes were alright, but the scene where, like, Iris first walks in and Camilla's like, you know, tell me something only you would know. Like, she's just like, oh, yeah, Cisco's your boyfriend and you love him, right? It's literally, like, that's all she says. It's not only until, like, later on where she's like, oh, yeah, he lets you wear that Chewbacca shirt and you're the only one who he does. Like, would you not go to that first? Like, I just love how, like, nonchalantly she's like, oh, yeah, Cisco, you know, he's your boyfriend and he loves you and you love him and he's great, right? It's just, is that the best you can come up with? Like, you know, if I was trying to convince someone that I was actually me, would you just say, like, a generic fact that anybody could find out by looking at a Facebook page? Like, it's just, it wasn't exactly the best, you know, it wasn't the best choice on Iris's part there. So interesting, but still. Nice to see Camilla, because we hadn't actually seen her yet, you know, the real version, so it was cool to see there, and it seems like this sort of storyline is finally going to get going. We might actually see them get out, whether it's next episode or whether it's next season now. So, you know, it seems like this might be moving forward a little bit more now, which I think this storyline with the Mirrorverse is really coming to a head, which is very exciting. And we also had a story with Frost and Ralph. We have Killer Frost still sad at home, still recovering, and we basically just have these scenes between her and Ralph, where it's kind of just more friendly stuff where he's like, oh, you know, I'm your life coach and you can tell me things and stuff like that. And, you know, Frost is basically feeling uneasy about going to her mother about her injury because she knows that she's really the only one who can help her, but she doesn't want to go as Frost because she doesn't see her as her mother. She's Katie's mother and stuff like that, so she has to deal this all out with Ralph. And again, nice scenes between them, and if Sue Dibney wasn't on the show, or Sue Dearborn wasn't introduced on the show by this point, I would honestly think that they were setting up these two for a relationship at this point. Like, not Caitlin and Ralph necessarily, but, like, Ralph and Frost. Like, because they have a lot of chemistry, and the way they act in this particular episode, in these scenes, is almost kind of, you know, it's almost flirty in a way, and it's almost, you know, how Caitlin has interacted with other of her, you know, with other love interests in the past. The only thing that makes me think obviously they're not going to do this is the fact that Sue Dearborn is on the show, and obviously that's where that's going to go. She's going to become Sue Dibney, I assume, unless they completely subvert the fans. But it does seem very flirty in these episodes. Maybe it's just me. Let me know if you felt the same. But I think it was just kind of interesting to see these two kind of be like that. And like I say, if Sue wasn't on the show, I would be like, oh well, maybe they're going to set these two up. But because Sue is here, I can't see them going in that direction. So it just seemed like a bit of a weird choice. But still, nice scenes, and I did enjoy them. Now, by the end of the episode, when Hartley is able to stabilize Roderick and they end up going back together, and we get to see, you know, Godspeed is defeated and things like that. Barry actually reveals that Godspeed actually isn't gone yet, because when he was taken to Iron Heights, he tried to question him, and he revealed that, you know, we needed your speed, you need to give us what we deserve, and, you know, he says the person who sent me needs the velocity and things like that. So that's basically confirming that there is another Godspeed out there, like the real August Hart is still out there, potentially commanding all these different versions of Godspeed. So this could be a setup for next season. This still could be something. I mean, I don't know if I discussed this in video or if it was on the podcast, but there is a theory out there that the kind of reverse Flash cliffhanger that was meant to happen at the end of this season was Thorn taking over Godspeed's body. So this could be set up for that, given the fact that Godspeed is still, you know, around, and they're still mentioning the fact that he's not gone completely. So this could be set up for that. Again, we're not going to see that until next season now, but it still could be kind of set up for that. But it's good to know that Godspeed isn't gone, because I really liked him in this episode. He was really cool. I really like the actor who voices him as well, B.D. Wong, who of course is from Jurassic Park and a bunch of other things. But really cool voice, and I just enjoyed his character as well. He seemed kind of, you know, fun in this episode. Like, he was serious and he was ruthless, but he kind of enjoyed being a villain, which I quite liked. We haven't really seen that with the Speedster before, so I like Godspeed, I like his personality, I like what they're doing with him, so hopefully we'll see more of him in Season 7, if that's the story they're going to go with. So the episode kind of ends with Cisco revealing that he only needs one more component to finish the device he's making, and he knows exactly where it is. It's in Atlantis. Okay, I mean, Atlantis, I never thought we'd see introduced into the CW universe. Obviously, Atlantis being where Aquaman is from. So, does that mean in the next episode we're going to see, you know, underwater cities and Atlanteans and things like that? Because that is pretty crazy if we are. I can't see that myself. I think this could be maybe Cisco kind of disappearing for the finale, which is obviously, again, not how it was intended to be, but I think this could be Cisco going off and then he might come back at the end of the episode, or he might not be back until next season now. Because this is interesting, because I can't see them doing Atlantis. I can't physically see them doing that, because, again, we don't really know what Atlantis is in this universe. It could be something a bit more grounded than what we actually think of it, or it could be a thing where it is very comic booky and therefore way too expensive to do on the CW. I mean, obviously we have seen on The Flash before, we saw Gorilla City, which was basically entirely CGI, and that was actually really good, but I don't know if the CW is going to do Atlantis. I don't know if that's going to happen. And also that could bring up a lot of things with Aquaman and stuff like that, which I don't know if they even want to get into that, because a lot of questions will come up from fans and stuff like that, and, you know, it's more of a throwaway thing. So I think it's a lot more likely that in the next episode, I haven't seen the promo yet, so the promo might have these answers, so I apologize for that. I haven't actually seen the promo for the next episode, but I think it'll just be Cisco basically going off to Atlantis, because clearly he's been there before, so he'll go to Atlantis, get what he needs, and then comes back. But again, given the cutting off of the season, we might not actually see Cisco in the next episode, and therefore not see him again until season 7. So I don't know what's going to happen with Atlantis. We could see it. It'd be really cool if we did. Even if we just got like one shot of it, maybe. Like maybe we see Cisco just get like one little, you know, outside, you know, wide shot or something. That'd be cool. But I don't think it's going to be anything we're going to explore in depth. Overall, though, I thought this was a pretty cool episode. Again, I really enjoyed having Godspeed back again. Having a speedster villain was really fun, especially one like this who seems to have a really fun personality. And I liked all the stuff with Hartley. I think it was really nice to bring him back in, add a lot more humanity, show his development, show his depth a bit more. And I really enjoyed all that stuff. And again, the Frost and Ralph stuff was a bit weird. The Iris and Camilla stuff was good. It's just, again, the way Iris kind of delivers the line of trying to convince Camilla was really strange. And, you know, I don't know how this Atlantis thing's going to go down. I'm not 100% sure about that yet. And also, I do feel like this episode was a bit fillery. I'm not going to lie. I do think it was a bit fillery. Not super fillery. Like, it is not as bad as some episodes out there of The Flash and just in the Arrowverse in general. But I do feel like this episode was just kind of here to, you know, because we all love Godspeed. And anytime Godspeed comes back, it's always a big thing for the fans. You know, but I still think this episode was really good. I did enjoy it. So overall, I'm going to give this episode, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think that feels right. A 7 out of 10. Sort of down the middle. Or slightly above down the middle. I think this episode was good. And again, it still continues the streak for me for this back half of the season. Because again, even though this episode was a bit fillery and didn't have as much sort of important stuff in it as the other episodes have had, it was still really good quality. So I really enjoyed it overall. So yeah, 7 out of 10 feels right for me. But what did you guys think about this episode? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you were disappointed with it, if you enjoyed it, whatever you thought, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, if you want to see more DC content and Flash videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from me. And hope to see you guys again next time.